the first iFunds annual general meeting. Before we begin, I would like to welcome to the stage, or rather to the seats, the chairman of the iTrust board, Mr. Anwar Rajabali. Karibu. A round of applause, please. I would like to welcome a representative from our trustee and custodian, NBC. A round of applause. I would like to welcome a representative from PwC, our external auditors. Thank you. I would also like to welcome our legal advisor, Karibu sana, from Vertex Law Chambers. And last but not least, I would like to welcome one of our directors, Professor Arsame. Karibu. With that, I would now officially like to welcome you all. For those joining via YouTube and Instagram, I would just like to remind you that you can type in your questions on our YouTube channel, and we will address them accordingly during the general Q&A, as well as the Q&A for each respective fund. Thank you. That being said, I would now like to welcome Mr. Anwar Rajabali, the chairman of the iTrust board, to open the first iFunds annual general meeting. Welcome.
Our regulators, CMSA, custodians, NBC, our auditors, PwC, legal advisors, Vertex Law Chambers, Sharia Board and our advisors, Board of Directors of iTrust Finance, fellow unit holders, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, joining us both physically and virtually, good morning. I warmly welcome you to the inaugural annual general meeting of the 5 funds, namely the iCash Unit Trust Scheme, the iSave Unit Trust Scheme, the iIncome Unit Trust Scheme, the iGrowth Unit Trust Scheme, the Iman Unit Trust Scheme. Before we proceed with the formal business of the day, I would now like to welcome our legal advisor to read the notice convening the meeting and statutory confirmations. Emmanuel.
Dear unit holders, I proceed to read notes and make statutory confirmations prior to commencement of business of the day. This meeting is convened pursuant to the Capital Markets Collective Investment Schemes Regulations 1997 and Article 43(1) of the Trust Deed of iIncome Fund Unit Trust Scheme, Article 43(1) of the Trust Deed of the iCash Fund Unit Trust Scheme, Article 43(1) of the Trust Deed of iGrowth Fund Unit Trust Scheme, Article 45(1) of the Trust Deed of Iman Fund Unit Trust Scheme, Article 43(1) of the Trust Deed of ISAF Fund Unit Trust Scheme, and the Notice of Annual General Meeting of Unit Holders issued on 6th of June 2026. The Trust Deed of I-Income Fund Unit Trust Scheme and the Capital Market Collective Investment Schemes Regulations require notice convening this meeting to be published. I confirm the notice was circulated to all unit holders on 6th of June 2026 via email, web link, and newspapers, and hence meet the requirements. Trust Deed of iGrowth Fund Unit Trust Scheme and the Capital Markets Collective Investment Scheme Regulations require the notice of this meeting to be published. I confirm the notice was circulated to all unit holders on 6th of June 2026 via email and web link, and hence meet the requirements. Trust Deed of iCash Fund Unit Trust Scheme and the Capital Market Collective Investment Schemes Regulations require notice of this meeting to be published. I confirm this notice was circulated to all unit holders on 6th of June 2026 via email, web link, newspapers, hence meet the requirements. The Trust Deed of ISAF Fund Unit Trust Scheme and the Capital Market Collective Investment Schemes Regulations require notice convening this meeting to be published. I confirm the notice was circulated to all unit holders on 6th of June 2026 via email, web link, and newspapers, and hence meets the requirements. The Trust Deed of Iman Fund Unit Trust Scheme and the Capital Market Collective Investment Scheme Regulations require notice of convening this meeting to be published. I confirm the notice was circulated to all unit holders on 6th of June 2026 via email, web link, newspapers, and hence meets the requirements. Also, Article 43(3) of the Trust Deeds require quorum of this meeting to be 10% of proportionate unit holders for ordinary business, and 25% of proportionate unit holders where there is special business. For I-Income Fund Unit Trust Scheme, I confirm that we have 63.15% of proportionate unit holders present in person. For iCash Fund Unit Trust Scheme, I confirm that we have 42.63% of proportionate unit holders present in person. For iGrowth Fund Unit Trust Scheme, I confirm that we have 39.33% of proportionate unit holders present in person. For Iman Fund Unit Trust Scheme, I confirm that we have 81.25% of proportionate unit holders present in person. And for ISAF Fund Unit Trust Scheme, I confirm that we have 39.65% of proportionate unit holders present in person. Thus, we have sufficient percent of proportionate unit holders consisting not less than 10% for ordinary business and not less than 25% for special business. Therefore, the meeting has requisite quorum. I therefore advise Chairman to proceed with the business of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel. After establishing the quorum, I now declare the 2025 Annual General Meeting of the iCash Unit Trust Scheme, iSave Unit Trust Scheme, iIncome Unit Trust Scheme, iGrowth Unit Trust Scheme, and Iman Unit Trust Scheme duly opened. On behalf of the directors of iTrust, it is my pleasure and privilege to address you at this important milestone in our journey. This AGM marks a significant moment as we bring together the respective unit holders of the 5 funds to review our collective progress and chart the way forward. First and foremost, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all our unit holders for the iTrust and confidence you have placed in iTrust. Your continued support has been instrumental in the growth of our funds and in advancing our mission of making professional investment solutions accessible to Tanzanians from all walks of life. Today's meeting is more than a statutory requirement. It is an opportunity for engagement, transparency, and accountability. It provides a platform for us to present the performance of our funds, share insights on market development, receive reports from our custodian and external auditors, and most importantly, listen to your views and feedback. As outlined in the notice and agenda of our meeting, which was circulated to you along with the audited financial statement for the year ended 31st December 2025, we will review proposed amendments to the trust deeds aimed at enhancing clarity, expanding investment opportunities, and ensuring that our governance framework remains aligned with evolving market conditions and regulatory developments. The investment landscape continues to evolve rapidly, presenting both opportunities and challenges. I'm pleased to inform you that as you might have noted, and as you will also hear from the presentations during the proceeding of our general meeting, the fund's performance for the year noted tremendous growth despite various global challenges. We would like to assure all unit holders and all stakeholders that the funds remain committed to sustainable growth for the benefit of all unit holders. I'd like to commend the regulators, CMSA, our custodians, NBC, auditors, PwC, legal advisors, Vertex Law Chambers, and all stakeholders, whose dedication and partnership have contributed to the growth and success of the iFunds. As we proceed today's agenda, I encourage all unit holders to actively participate, ask questions, and engage constructively in the discussions. Your involvement strengthens the governance of our funds and contribute to our shared success. I would now like to delegate to the management, the secretary, to ensure that the agenda for the meeting is followed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now we are starting our business of the day. Before we start, I would like all of us to confirm the agenda of the day. I believe everyone has agenda. If there is any comment regarding the agenda, please, I'll give you 30 seconds for review, and let me have the comments, if any. Now, since there is no comment regarding the agenda, we confirm that these are the agenda of the business of the day. I'll start with the first agenda, for which I would now welcome Mr. Faiz Arab, CEO iTrust Fund, to make a presentation regarding iTrust. Mr. Faiz Arab, please, you have the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning once again. I would like to once again, firstly, before we start, I would like to our regulators, thank you so much for joining us today. The High Table, our chairman, our partners and stakeholders and investors, welcome to iTrust and iFunds first AGM. I'm going to start with just giving you a bit of a highlight of the year 2025, how it went, what we have done so far, and hopefully how we're going to go ahead with this year as well. So as you guys know, we are regulated by Bank of Tanzania, CMSA, and Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange. Along with that, all the business lines that we currently do, we do fund management, brokerage, advisory, and we do partial lending as well through our Sharia arm. In the year 2025, we have done close to 500 billion AUM in our funds. We have raised close to $1 trillion in our advisory arm through equity and debt. We have done brokerage close to 230 billion turnover in the year 2025. And we have a loan book through our Sharia arm close to 80 billion at this point. A bit of our success story, I think a lot of our new investors and unit holders have probably not heard our success story. iTrust started off as Iman in the year 2013. We did our first Sukuk issuance in the year 2021. In the year 2021, we actually did 2 Sukuk issuances in the tune of 4.7 billion. In the year 2022, we also did the 3rd, 4th, and 5th Sukuk issuances in the tune of close to 20 billion. In January 2023, we rebranded from Iman to iTrust Finance, from which we did our 6th, 7th, and 8th Sukuk, raising 23.8 billion. At the end of December 2023, we did our first advisory transaction, and I see Peter here is sitting here. We did the rights issue for him of close to 10.5 billion, which was a fully subscribed issuance. In the beginning of the year 2024, we did our 9th and 10th Sukuk issuance, the tune of 25 billion. Also in that year, towards the end of that year in 2024, we launched our 5 funds, which today we are here doing our first AGM for. We raised close to 50 billion in that transaction. Fast forwarding to December 2024, we did our second transaction of doing a rights issue again for DCB Bank, which was close to 10.74 billion. In the year of 2025, the beginning of the year, we did our 11th Sukuk issuance, which was close to 13 billion. Mid of the year, July 2025, we launched the first ever dollar fund of $6.1 million, a first ever dollar fund in Tanzania. In the following quarter of 2025, we were given the task to do a sukuk for CRDB Bank, the Islamic arm, the Al Baraka, and we did 2 different currencies. We did shillings and dollars. In the shilling side, we did 152 billion, and on the dollar side, we did $32 million. Along that time, again, right after a couple of months, we did a debt or a bond issuance for TCB Bank, That was the Stawi bond. This was supposed to be a 3 to 4 year program, which we completed it in one tranche. It was in the tune of 140 billion. Right after that, we did Tanga Cement's rights issue, one of the biggest and largest rights issue ever done in the history of Tanzania, in the tune of 204 billion. Beginning of January, we launched our first ETF, East Africa's first regional ETF actually. We were doing the IPO and we raised close to 54 billion, and the market cap today is 157 billion. Along with that, we also issued our 12th sukuk, which completed the full 100 billion mark for sukuks through iTrust. In June, well, recently, we are ongoing our iTrust bond, and soon you will hear the results for the iTrust bonds. Hopefully, we know it's a success, but we will give you the results soon. Couple of things we have done with iTrust, and some of the things which were obviously tuned around the financial inclusion programs, the financial education that we provide through our different mechanisms. One of them is the WISE program. This is where we encourage women and empower them on investments, right? We have done a couple of investments in the sports programs through the marathons, through some pickleball events, and so forth. We also conduct our quarterly funds meeting and updates on how the funds are performing on a quarterly basis, so all of you guys know what exactly is happening in the funds. In the year, whilst we launched our bond, we also launched our iTrust mobile application and web portal to making investment easier for you, and you can see all your holdings, you can see the growth, you can even transact through our portal. A lot of you guys I know are using our platform at this point. I will be more than happy to hear from you guys later on if there's any other challenges on this platform and how we can improve ourselves. But just a quick on how to invest through our platform and through our mobile application. It's a very simple process. You can just read through it and just follow the instructions. How to invest in the funds, you can directly pull from your MNO bank, and it will hit your wallet instantaneously, and you can proceed with your investment. Along with your redemption requests can be done also quite instantaneous. Obviously, it's T+3 settlement, so you'll have to wait for 3 days. You can also do it through the bank, upload all the proof of payments on it. It's very simple, very seamless. Just read the instructions. If you have challenges again, you can reach out to us. These are some of the security features that we also have based on because you will be holding a wallet with us if you're investing in the Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange, or if you're investing into the funds directly. We do have some security features in place. Again, in comparison to the DIRA 2050 vision, right, the digital transformation, we are also ticking those boxes off. Our platform provides you that accessibility to invest, right? The financial inclusion, obviously lowering the barriers, firstly educating the market, and also giving low-cost transactions into our platform and for you to invest more. Obviously, innovative financing innovation is one of our key drivers. The mutual funds, brokerage services, and also iLoans will be doing more for wealth creation on this segment. Anyways, I would like to thank you all once again, and I will hand over to the funds department to take us through the funds performance. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. So I will take you through how the funds performed in the year 2025. We'll start with iCash Fund. iCash Fund is our money market fund, which invests in short-term fixed income securities and money market instruments. This fund is suitable for investors who have low risk tolerance and wish to invest for a short to medium term period. The minimum investment is 100,000 only. You can exit within 3 working days at no cost. If you look at our asset allocation at the end of the year, 70.4% was held in treasury bonds, 26.8% in corporate bonds, 2.5% cash. Note that this is not cash sitting at the bank, but it's actually invested in term deposits, earning us an interest. According to the market, how the year began, the treasury bill started up at 12.95%. By the end of the year, we're at 6.24%. But if you look at how the fund performed by the end of the year, investors were still able to get an annual return of 11.94%. So this is to show you how strong the fund actually performed vis-a-vis how the market reflected by the end of the year. On our financials, you can see by the end of the year, our total assets as of 2025 was at 36.045 billion, total income at 3.68 billion, profit after tax at 3.075 billion. We'll go to iSave Fund. iSave Fund is our fixed income fund, which primarily invests in long-term bonds. iSave Fund is suitable for investors who wish to park their money for a long period of time and have a low risk tolerance. Minimum investment is 100,000 shillings only. You can exit within 3 working days at a fee of 1%. On our asset allocation, on our asset allocation, 89.7% was held in treasury bonds, and then we had 8.5% in term deposits. When you look at the market, at the beginning of the year, we started strongly at 14%, then it dropped by 50 bips, so we ended at 13.5%. The fund was still able to generate a return of 13.33%, which was very close to our benchmark. On our financials, the total assets as of end of 2025, we closed at 10.656 billion. Total income at 1.282 billion. The profit after tax was 1.079 billion. In our income fund, it's also a fixed income fund which invests in long-term treasury bonds. Minimum investment is 10 million. This is suitable for investors who want to park their money for a long period of time, have low risk tolerance, but also wish to receive a monthly payout. If you look at how the fund performed, we had 13.25% vis-a-vis the market. At the beginning of the year, 5-year treasury bonds started at 13% to a close by the end of the year at 10.5%. But the fund investors were still able to get 13.25%. So this shows how our income actually performed very well if you compare with our benchmark, which was sitting at 112.57. On our financials, we closed our total assets at 16.352 billion, total income at 2.082 billion, and then profit after tax was 1.714 billion. iGrowth Fund is our balanced fund, which is conventional. It invests primarily in bonds, long-term bonds, and shares that are listed in Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange. iGrowth Fund is suitable for investors who can absorb some level of risk. It has moderate risk, so investors who want to park their money there should be long-term investors because exit takes 3 working days and it attracts a fee of 1%. In iGrowth Fund, by the end of the year, our equities was at 80.3%, treasury bonds at 15.4%, then 4.4% was in term deposits. Our TSI, we had an annual return of 25%, but the fund was still able to generate a return of 45.13%. So you can see how we have a big gap between how the fund performed vis-a-vis the benchmark. On the financials, our total assets was at 97.99 billion. Total income was 21.32 billion. The profit after tax was 19.17 billion. And then we have Iman Fund, which is also our balanced fund, but it's Sharia compliant. Iman Fund invests in sukuks and Sharia compliant equities. This fund is particularly meant for investors who are very sophisticated and wish to park their money in investments that follow the Sharia principles. The minimum investment is 100,000. You can exit within 3 working days at a fee of only 1%. The fixed deposits in the market had an average of 8.7% by the end of the year, but Iman Fund was still able to generate an annual return of 37.97%. On the asset allocation, by the end of the year, we were holding 82.3% in Sukuks, 15.1% in Sharia-compliant equities, and 2.7% in Islamic deposits. By the end of the year, you could see how we outperformed our benchmark, as it was sitting at around 109, but the fund closed at an annual return of 37%. On the financials, you can see the total assets at 14.91 billion, total income at 2.92 billion, profit after tax at 2.56 billion. So that's how the fund performed up to the end of 2025. I'll now take you through a snapshot of how the funds have performed till date. If you look at iCash, by the end of 2024, we had an AUM of 12.79 billion. As of 18th this month, we had 50.63 billion. If you look at the year-to-date return as of 2025, we had 12.83 billion in iCash. This is year-to-date. Year-to-date, as of now, on 18th, we had 5.27%. Since inception, return of iCash was 18.78%. The NAV as of 18th of June was 118.78%. On iGrowth Fund, which is our balance fund, AUM as of December 2024, we closed at 17.80 billion. AUM as of 18th was 195.67 billion. Year-to-date return as of end of 2025 was 45.79 billion. Year-to-date return as of 2026, this is 18th, was 47.34 billion. Since inception, return for iGrowth was 114.81 billion. NAV as of 18th for iGrowth is 214.81% billion. If we look at Iman, the AUM as of end of 2024, we closed at 11.62 billion. AUM as of 18th of June was 16.28 billion. Year-to-date return was 14.29 billion as of 2025. Right now, the year-to-date return is 6.03%. Since inception, return was 21.18 billion. The NAV for iGrowth as of for iIncome as of 18th is 121.18. iSafe Fund, AUM, we closed at 2.8 billion as of December 2024. AUM as of 18th was 18.78 billion. Year-to-date return was 13.87%. Year-to-date return for 2026 is 5.55%. Since inception, return is 2.2%. NAV as of 18th is 120.2. And when you look at Iman, finally the Sharia compliant balance fund, AUM at inception in December 2024, we closed at 5.38 billion. AUM as of 18th of June was 17.49 billion. Year-to-date return as of 2025 was 38.12%. Year-to-date return as of 2026 was 6.18%. Since inception, return was 46.66%. Then NAV as of 18th was 146.66. I would now like to welcome Tupokigwe from NBC. Thank you.
Good morning. Just a quick correction. My name is Jimmy. Tupo is there. So I look after investor services in NBC, and as per capital market regulation, collective investment schemes, they're supposed to onboard the service of a custodian, and for iTrust, National Bank of Commerce is the custodian. So I'm just quickly going to give a formal custodian opinion in all these 5 funds. NBC, in its capacity as trustee custodian, confirm that to the best of knowledge and the information provided, iTrust Finance Limited, in all material respect, manage each of these funds, mutual funds, the 5 which has been mentioned, in accordance to the provision of the respective consultative document and application applicable CMSA regulation. One of our duties as custodian is to make sure there's asset segregation and safe custody. So as a bank, you're all aware we do have our own assets. So as per regulation, we're supposed to separate custodian assets and bank assets. So in that aspect, I here confirm that all funds assets are held in segregated custody accounts, entirely separate from NBC proprietary assets. No funds has been in pledge or encumbered or used for NBC own benefit. We also full ring-fenced unit holder investment is maintained at all times. But also, as part of custodian, our role is to make sure that investment restriction are monitored. All the investments which are being done by iTrust is in accordance to the guideline of their license, which has been granted by CMSA. So here, as NBC custodian, we do confirm NBC monitored compliance with the investment limits, restrictions that has been defined in each fund constitutive document throughout full year of 2025. So no investment guideline breaches were recorded during the reporting period. Another role of a custodian is to make sure that redemptions and unit holder records are there too. So in that aspect, NBC confirmed all automatic redemption were processed and paid to eligible unit holders in accordance with the income funds automatic redemption policy. A unit holder registers maintained and reconciled throughout the full year of 2025. We are also, as per CMSA regulation, required to report any exception and material events during the year. So as NBC, we are here confirming no material breaches or exception or reportable events that were noted in the full year of 2025. So all regulatory matters addressed by CMSA reporting timelines, no fraud, theft, or misappropriation of fund assets were reported during this time. So looking ahead, NBC remain committed to robust custodian and trustee services as iTrust Finance into its second year, as we have seen strong volumes between January and April alone reflects the expanding scale of the fund under custody. So as NBC, we are pledging to continue to work diligence to protect investors' funds and also to make sure that our partner iTrust continue to bring economic value to all these investments. Thank you.
Thank you, NBC. Now we'll go to our 7th agenda, is to receive external auditors' reports for iCash, iSave, iIncome, in the iGrowth, and the demand fund. Please, external of the floor.
Good morning. So as introduced, my name is Cletus Kiuga from PwC. I was the engagement partner for the audit of the funds for the period ended December 2025. So I will take you through just in summary form what was included in our audit opinion,
for all the 5 funds. So the first part was the opinion. So basically, the opinion we stated there that in our view, the financial statements that we audited were true and fair, free of any material misstatements. And the statements that we looked for, the ones that we audited, is the statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, statement of the financial position, a statement of changes in the net assets attributable to unit holders, and statement of cash flow, including the notes to the financial statement. So that was the scope of our audit. Those are the items that we reviewed. In terms of the basis of our opinion, we conducted the audit in accordance with international standards on auditing. And also we made sure that we fulfill our obligation, ethical responsibilities in accordance with the International Ethics Standards Board for Accountants, Code of Conduct, and requirements of the NBAA as far as ethical responsibility and independence is concerned. And then in our opinion, there was also a section for other information. So this is guided by International Standards on Auditing 720, which gives the responsibility to external auditors to review any other information that is included as part of financial statements, just making sure that whatever is being disclosed there is consistent to the rest of the financial statements and what you understand that has happened for that entity you are auditing. So example of these statements, the general information, profile of the fund, statement of trustee or custodian, report of the fund manager, sustainability report, all these informations that are included in the annual report, we have responsibility just to make sure that whatever has been reported is consistent with our understanding. And then in our opinion, there's a section that outlines the responsibility of the fund manager and director as far as preparation of financial statement is concerned. So there are specific responsibilities that are assigned to the directors and fund managers, which we captured there. And then there's also auditor's responsibility. Primarily, our objective is to obtain reasonable assurance that the numbers have been, the report has been correctly prepared, and through that we carry out now the audit procedures, identifying risk, understanding the internal control, review accounting policies, and obtain the evidence. And finally, there's also a responsibility to make sure that the preparation of financial statement complies with other applicable regulation. In this case is the capital market and security regulation, making sure whatever is required to be considered as part of preparation has been properly captured. So in a nutshell, that's our audit opinion, and for all funds, we issued unqualified opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, PwC, our external auditor. Now we move to our 8th agenda, which is general questions and the answers. Unit holders and the members of this meeting, you are now welcome for asking any questions, any comments, anything you would like to know about iTrusts from the presentations and the other materials or other questions you may have, please. Secretariat, please read the agenda.
We would like to welcome the community joining us virtually. Please, if you have any questions, kindly type them and we will address them accordingly. I would also like to welcome the floor. If there's anyone who has any questions, any comments, please, this is your opportunity to ask or share them. From the online community, one of the questions the viewers are asking, we have 7 funds, 6 of them being mutual funds and 1 ETF. When are they getting the iDollar AGM? Taking into account that it also launched about a year ago now. Thank you, Hassan.
So for the AGM of iDollar, it will be conducted next year along with these 5 having their second AGM. Basically, you need to have a full year, at least 6 months to a full year of operations in order to host the AGM.
Thank you. Another one is, what kind of equities does iGrowth hold?
So iGrowth holds a variety of equities. As you may have seen in the iGrowth financial statements, there is a clear description for each and every company that is in iGrowth as of December 2025. So we have different companies such as CIDB, NNB, and the like. So for more clarity on that, please open the financial statements available on our website.
Thank you. We would like to welcome, or rather to remind the online community that we still have a few more minutes left on the Q&A. So in case there are any questions, please feel free to type them on our YouTube page. As we're waiting for more, another one is, can an investor invest in all funds at the same time? Welcome, Josephine.
Okay, thank you. An investor can invest in all the funds at the same time, but the most important thing that you must know as an investor is that every fund has a goal. So what you need to consider is, what goal do I have? And then you can ask us and we'll advise you according to your goal, what funds you invest in. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I guess we opened the Pandora box by talking about the ETF and the iDollar. So why is the iTrust ETF trading at discount? What measures can you as fund managers take? I understand that we only have, or rather this AGM is for these inaugural 5 funds, but we'll take the questions as they come.
Thank you for that question. The ETF has 2 different prices, right? It has a price on the stock exchange, which reflects the demand and supply dynamic, and you have the net asset value. Now, the price from the stock exchange is very dependent on people's perspective, right? Due to this current situation in Iran, people have been more reluctant to investing in the stock market, which could mean that people were a little bit worried that despite the net asset value being higher than the market price, they still have a little bit of conservancy when it came to investing in the stock exchange, which is the reason that the current price is trading at a discount. Now, for people like me who love investing in the stock market, these are the kind of situations that I look for. I'd love to buy that cheaper than its true value, right? So it's about perspective. Depending on your perspective, you could either find the market price at a discount or premium.
Prof, I know you're looking at us. If you feel the need to add something, please do let me know.
Thank you. I think the point to be made is that I think Azad has made the 4 points. The market dynamics determine the market price, but for long-term investors in the ETF, look to the NAV that is published regularly and the portfolio holdings that are disclosed on weekly basis. The portfolio holdings is on the website, and you can see the kind of equities, the key equities held in the ETF. Now, why is it trading sometimes? A premium to NAV, and today it's trading at a discount. As Azan has mentioned, investors will need to keep an eye on this premium and discount dynamics, and whenever you see an opportunity, this is the opportunities that most investors like, buying something at a discount. So that's not a negative thing, but it's a reflection of the demand and supply dynamics in the market. So at some other point in time, it's possible that we see a premium again, but currently we are seeing a discount, and that has to do with the fact that we have more sellers than buyers. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. While we have you, maybe we can also ask, what measures are in place to mitigate inflation?
Yeah, I think in terms of inflation, the measures in place are the same as any other investment. We try to maximize investors' return. Investors have a nominal return from the funds, so you have seen returns like in iGrowth year to date, let's say, or let's say from inception, 114%. You've seen returns in fixed income securities. So what inflation will do is that as inflation picks up, as fund managers, we want to invest in assets that yield higher level to protect investors' real returns. So we keep an eye on nominal returns, we keep an eye on inflationary trends, and we also keep an eye on how we invest to ensure that we protect the purchasing power of unit holders. So that is the role fund managers do.
Thank you, Prof. We also, now that we've opened it up for the ETF as well, people are very curious about the ETF. So one question maybe, what is the difference between, one would say, iGrowth and the current iTrust East African Large Cap ETF? And is there a possibility of an iGrowth ETF?
Yeah, I think, first of all, let's just say that the main difference is one is a unit trust. It is basically held through the fund manager. The other one is traded on the exchange. That's where ETF comes from, exchange traded fund. Both are actually funds underneath, but they are different. The investment nature is also different. iGrowth is a balanced fund. And it has bonds, it has other kind of securities, which ETF doesn't have. ETF is a pure equity fund. Also geographically, ETF invests across the whole of East Africa. That's why it's called the East Africa ESP large cap ETF. While iGrowth invests primarily in the Stock Exchange, listed securities. So those are some of the differences. The nature is different in terms of how they trade, what kind of investments they hold, geographical area they operate under. But at the end of the day, both are very good investments, and most investors can use them as a diversification tool to basically deploy their portfolio in these two different asset classes.
Thank you, Prof. Considering iGrowth is a medium risk fund, can you explain the fluctuations we see that reflect in a high risk fund?
The medium and high risk are really basically giving you a sense of volatility, meaning that how prices can move. For example, a low risk fund will be something like iCash. iCash invests in fixed income, it invests in short duration, short maturity assets. It's always earning its money, high quality, let's say government bonds, short term. maybe high quality corporate bonds. But if you look at something like iGrowth and the ETF, they contain a chunk of investment done in equities. Equity prices are moving on daily basis depending on market sentiment, news flow, investor perception of value, and because of that you are going to get movement in equity prices. Those movements lead to changes in NAV. Changes in NAV also leads, in the case of the ETF, to market price movements. So we do have volatility, but is that volatility excessive? I wouldn't say so. We actually have been a very stable country as far as if you compare returns on the Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange versus, let's say, international volatility. Internationally have been much higher than the DSC volatility. So I will say that yes, there is moderate and slightly higher risk in some of these equities, but investors have been rewarded by the returns. So you see, this is the thing. Investors cannot expect that you're going to be able to access to high yielding or high return assets without assuming a little bit higher volatility and risk. But if you're a long-term investor, you will do well.
Thank you, Prof. So we have some more questions. Another one being the iTrust ETF. All companies that we have invested in, this is as per the view of the listener, makes sense, except for TCCL. Why was it selected or included? Can we give our investors a bit of a glimpse into what goes into the decision-making process?
Yeah, so I think in terms of the kind of returns we are chasing long-term as equity investors, the basic thing is we want stocks that benefit from the growth of the economy. Stocks that benefit from growth of the population, GDP growth, stocks that benefit from income growth in the country. So for those of you who know TTCL, which is the Tanga Cement basically was a company that had not been performing well for a period of time, all the way to last year. Last year, it got restructured. And we are very honored that we were one of the advisors who operated on that transaction. We raised for a rights issue. All the external, 75% of the external debt was paid back. Those were the things that were weighing down on the performance of the company. Now, why did it become a value? Because it was trading extremely cheap. If you know Tanga Cement, once the debt was removed, the market cap was trading at something close to about $100 million for a value that was, for us, extremely cheap. If you just compare the valuation of Tanga Cement with, let's say, Twiga Cement, Tanzania Portland Cement, we saw really a big gap in terms of valuation. So we added it to give investors a boost. So far, investors in the ETF have done extremely well with their Tanga holding. As you guys know, last year the rights issue was done at 1,600. Today, those shares are trading over 3,000. So investors in the ETF have done extremely well from that investment. It's one of the contributing factors of why the ETF has done so well.
We have a question in-house. Karibu.
Good morning. My question is directed to the external auditor. Good morning. The question is directed to the external auditor, especially when it comes to auditing the Iman Fund. Actually, we know there are different accounting standards that one uses to audit. The standards that are used to audit the Sharia funds. Actually, we've not stated how you can guide a Sharia compliant investor on the audit report of Iman Finance, and especially the governance aspect of it. Kindly, can you elaborate on that slightly?
Omar, if I get you, because everybody may not have heard you, you're asking about the Sharia standards used for audit or some question like that. And I knew you would be the guy to ask that kind of technical question. I think it's, I will just jump in a little bit before Cletus comes in. The purpose of this was financial audit. PwC are not there to audit the Sharia part. That is a part that's been done by the Sharia board. But PwC are looking at, did we account for everything according to the law in terms of IFRS standards, according to NBAA regulations, and they produced a financial statement with that understanding. Now, what they look at if in terms of Sharia, I think that may not have been in their particular scope, because that's a Sharia audit, but Cletus can speak for himself.
Thank you, Prof. And what you said is correct. So basically, get an understanding of the setup, what Sharia requirements require as far as financial reporting is concerned, and then we check everything has been done according to that understanding. Yeah.
The good thing is, Omar, we have you as an advisor, so you'll be helping us if there's anything to add.
Thank you. We also have a question from investors abroad. I would like to put our CEO on the spot. They're asking, can people invest from outside Tanzania?
Yes, I think they can. Just a couple of things that would be is that if they can have a Tanzanian bank account, you can invest into our funds and into our products. Our app allows this kind of transactions, but we obviously adhere to the law of the country as well in terms of if it's a diaspora or if it is any regulation, any kind of regulations that we will have to look at. But you are definitely allowed to invest into our funds.
Just to add on to that, the iTrust app is available on Google Play and Play Store, or at the App Store. So please download it. It's accessible from anywhere in the world. So you'll be able to invest, provided you meet the requirements that have been mentioned. I would also like to ask, it is dividend season, if you will. How is the dividend treated, or rather received in iGrowth, and how does an investor benefit from it?
So basically, when we receive a dividend or when a company announces dividend, say for example NMB announced a dividend of 610 shillings per share, right? So the fund is holding a certain number of shares. On the ex-dividend date, that is the last trading day, the day after the last trading day that you can be eligible for the dividend, the fund recognizes that dividend as part of its income. So it's income earned by the fund, and it increases your net asset value by that amount. That's how the fund recognizes. And that, in translation, will result in the price moving up a little bit on that day, on the ex-dividend date.
Thank you, Hassan. Staying on the dividend, since the Tanzania capital market is highly dividend-oriented, is there any plan to change it from an accumulative ETF, so this goes back to our iTrust ETF, to it offering distributions in the future? And how will that look like? Can I give you this mic? Prof, can I give you this mic? Sorry.
Because this ETF is a new product, and I know investors have a lot of questions on the ETF, I would like to welcome all those investors in our quarterly investor call. We're going to have one, which is going to be next month. Please keep looking out for the date where we will be able to answer and give you much better description of the ETF and the way it operates. The current ETF is designed to be accumulating ETF, so it receives all dividend and adds it to the NAV. Paying out dividend has tax incident. It has a tax effect. So what we have allowed is investors can make their own dividend whenever they want. If the NAV has gone up, it's better for them to sell a few units and create dividends or returns to themselves without having to pay withholding taxes. Because we are receiving dividend, we already incurred withholding taxes outside Tanzania. Then we have corporate taxes that the ETF is paying. And on top of that, to deduct another withholding tax when we pay out a dividend, I think we found that to be affecting the investors' returns. So what we encourage investors is whenever you need to realize some of your accumulated value in the ETF, you can sell some portion of your ETF and generate what we call synthetic dividends. You can create inflows to yourself at any time because the value has gone up. Accumulating ETF means that its value NAV has been going up, and you can actually extract that by actually placing an order through our brokerage, through our app, into the market. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Before we close the round of general Q&A session, I would like to just do a lap one more time to see if there are any questions in-house. Otherwise, that being said, we would like to wrap up the general Q&A session or portion of the agenda. Karibu.
Thank you, Winfrida. Now, having done with the Q&A session, we are going to our 9th agenda, which is to receive, consider, and if deemed fit, approve the proposed amendment to the trust deed of the E and below unit trust schemes. We'll start with proposed amendments to the iCash fund. And dear unit holders, we have presentation from iTrust regarding the proposed amendment to the iCash fund.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. So I'll be presenting on the proposed amendments of the 5 funds. So starting with iCash, we have 3 amendments, as you can see, concerning the categories of fees in our funds. So the changes are basically to improve clarity. We have included the words exclusive of VAT in each category of expense. Kindly know that this is just to improve the wording. The funds have always been charging these fees exclusive of VAT, but we felt the need to improve the wording on our constitutive documents. So as you can see, for example, investment management fee at 1.6, we have added exclusive of VAT, same as to trustee custodian fees. And also in the other charges, we have included the words exclusive of VAT. So these changes do not change anything in our current operations, but they are just to improve the wording in our documents. Yes, so we'd like to invite any questions regarding the proposed amendments in iCash.
If there are any questions on iCash with regards to the proposed changes, for the online viewers, please feel free to type them in the chat and we will address them. For those who hadn't voted, we have sent out the link again for the iCash unit holders. Kindly vote But if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them and we will address them accordingly. So we'll give about 5 minutes. Kwa wasikilizaji wetu na watu wanaoangalia nje, pia unaweza ukaandika swali lako kwa Kiswahili na tutaliuliza na kulijibu kwa Kiswahili. Karibuni. Najua hii AGM tunaifanya kwa Kiingereza, lakini maswali yanaruhusiwa kwa Kiswahili. Okay, so we have a question asking about the fee for iCash. So explain more on the fee for iCash, as it is a fee-exempt fund. Or rather, I think this is as it is an exit fee-exempt fund.
Okay, thank you for the question. So by fee exempt on the exit fee, this is different from the management fee and trustee fees, because exit fees are charged when you want to exit the fund, but the fees that we were discussing are general to the entire fund and all unit holders. So in iCash, there is a charge of 1.6% per annum, which is charged on a daily basis, depending on the value of the fund on the respective day. So this does not depend on any exits or entrances. It's charged to the entire fund.
Thank you. I would just like to remind you, if you haven't voted and you're an iCash unit holder, please vote, as the voting is about to close soon, as we conclude the Q&A for the iCash fund. As there aren't any other questions, we will close the voting now and table the votes, or rather count the votes. We would like to welcome the legal advisor to kindly read the results. Give us a few minutes as they're finishing to count the votes.
We now have the voting results. for the proposed changes in iCash fund. Those who voted for the amendments are 100%. The against is 0, and the abstain is also 0. Ladies and gentlemen, dear unit holders, I announce that the resolution to amend the trust deed of iCash fund has been passed. I will now call upon the presenter for iSave, who will present also the proposed changes regarding iSave trust deed. Please.
Uh, Thank you, Mr. Kakwezi. So I'd like to proceed to our next fund, iSave Fund. The changes in iSave are similar to those in iCash. They concern the wording in our documents regarding our fees. So also in iSave, we have the 3 categories of expenses. We have the management fee, custodian fee, and the other charges. So the changes are merely to include the words exclusive of VAT. Again, these changes do not impact our operations. We have not introduced any new expense or charge, but we have felt the need to improve the wording to improve clarity in our documents. That's why we have added the words exclusive of VAT. So I invite any questions regarding the changes in iSafe Fund.
Thank you, Francis. I would like to remind that to all iSave unit holders that we've opened up the voting process. Some of the questions have been, can you go back to the changes? Can you kindly assist with breaking down each of the changes and what it means to a unit holder? So each individual change, what it means, and just briefly in Kiswahili as well.
Okay, so these changes, to be precise, they don't impact unit holder directly, because the current operations, how we've been charging the funds in terms of our fees, we have always been charging the same percentages exclusive of VAT since the funds commenced. Kwa hiyo ni change ni kuongeza maneno exclusive of VAT kwenye documents zetu, kwa sababu hizi fees mnazoziona zilikuwa hazisemi kwamba ni inclusive au exclusive of VAT. Kwa hiyo tumeongeza maneno ili kuleta ufafanuzi zaidi kwa wawekezaji wetu waelewe kwamba fees zilizoko kwenye documents zetu hazi include VAT.
Thank you, Francis. I would like to remind the iSave unit holders that the voting for those who hadn't voted before is open. However, in case you have a question, please feel free to ask in the chat and we will address them in either English or Kiswahili. So you're welcome to ask the question in either language. We'll give it 5 minutes before I welcome the legal advisor to proceed. we are still taking in the votes. And again, we have a few minutes, or rather a couple of minutes left for any questions. Otherwise, we will be wrapping up the session for iSave and tallying up the votes. I would now like to invite the legal advisor to proceed with the voting results for iSave Fund.
We have the results for iSave Fund proposed amendment. Those who have voted for are 90.5%. Those who have voted against are 0%. And those who have used their right or exercised their right to abstain are 9.5. With the results, I'm pleased to announce that the proposed changes in the trust deed of iSave Fund have been passed accordingly. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go to another unit fund. We move to income fund, for which we have 2 agenda items. The first agenda item is on confirmation of extraordinary general meeting which was held in June last year. So I would like every one of you to look at the minutes which were shared, and I would like to take you through the minutes and confirm the minutes of 27th June 2025. If there is any comment, please, I'll go page by page. Page 1. Page 2 of the minutes, any comment, corrections? From the online community, any comment? Page 3. Page 4. If there are no comments, I now confirm that the minutes are okay for extraordinary general meeting of High Income Unit Trusts scheme held on Friday, 27th June 2025. With that, we will go to another agenda item, which is presentation of proposed changes to the unit trust, to the trust deed of High Income Unit Trust Fund. Please, Francis.
Thank you, Mr. Kakwezi. So for our income fund, as you can see, we had the monthly redemptions, automatic redemptions, which we were approved in the EGM of last year. So as you can see in the table, We've been paying every month automatic redemptions to unit holders. For 2025, it came up to a total of 405 million. And 2026, so far, it is a total of 411 million, making a total of 816 million paid to unit holders. So coming to the amendments for iIncome Fund, they are similar to those of iSave and iCash Fund. So the changes are merely to address the wording in the trust deed documents. We have included the words exclusive of VAT to each category of expenses in our trust deeds. So this is just to improve clarity. The funds have always been charging the same fees exclusive of VAT, but these changes are just to address the wording in our documents and improve clarity. So I'd like to invite any questions to the for the amendments in iIncome Fund. Labda nirudie kwa Kiswahili. Kwenye mfuko wa iIncome marekebisho tunafanya kwenye document zetu kuelezea kwamba hizi gharama zote zilizoko kwenye mfuko, asilimia zinazoonekana hazihesabii kodi ya VAT. Kwa hiyo hizi asilimia ambazo zilizopo, hata kwa jinsi mifuko ilivyokuwa inaendeshwa, hizi gharama zilikuwa hazihesabii kodi ya VAT. Kwa hiyo tumerekebisha maelezo ya kwenye document zetu kueleza kwamba hizi asilimia zote hazihesabii VAT ndani yake.
Thank you, Francis. For the iIncome unit holders, I would like to let you know that the voting has been opened. I would also like to welcome the Q&A session. Karibuni kwa maswali, Kiingereza au Kiswahili. Kama mtu anahitaji ufafanuzi wowote, tupo hapa kuhakikisha kwamba haya marekebisho yanaeleweka na mnayakubali. I would also like to remind you, the link comes to the email that you registered the respective fund. In case it is not there, please check in either the promotions to make sure that you get the respective link. We welcome for a Q&A session, and we'll make sure that the voting is longer. That way you are able to vote once you have considered all of the changes. Again, I would like to remind all investors that for the previous funds where we have discussed the proposed changes, the voting has closed. Voting is now open only for iIncome Fund. Kindly use the link that was sent to you to vote for the proposed changes. Thank you. We understand that there are also investors who haven't invested with iTrust or haven't invested specifically in the funds who are joining us live today. In case you haven't invested with iTrust, we welcome you to visit our website, www.itrust.co.tz, to get more information on the funds and on all things iTrust. For existing investors who haven't invested in the funds, we welcome you to go to the app and simply click the funds and learn more about each respective fund and simply invest. Karibuni. We have a few more minutes left on the voting. If you're getting any challenges, please let us know in the chat and we will address them.
Okay. We have one question about the proposed changes, especially where the cost is involved. Francis, can you break down the cost further? How does it affect you said it doesn't affect our regular operations. So what exactly was missing and what brought about the respective change? Please, in English and Kiswahili. Asante.
Okay, so just to explain on how the fund's expenses are charged, the fund has three categories of expenses. The first one is the management fee. It is 1.6% exclusive of VAT. So when we commenced the funds, we started charging the 1.6% per annum, though we charge it on a daily basis. And the 1.6 itself does not include VAT, has never included VAT. But the problem was that in our documents, that clarity was not provided because, some could not understand that the 1.6, whether it includes or does not include VAT. So since the funds commenced, we have always been charging this management fee of 1.6 plus VAT. So right now what we're doing is just amending the wording in our documents to reflect our current operations. Nirudie kwa Kiswahili, tangia mifuko ianzishwe, tulikuwa na gharama ya inaitwa management fee, gharama ya mwendeshaji wa mfuko ambayo ni 1.6%. Sasa hii 1.6% tangia mifuko ianzishwe ilikuwa hai include hiyo kodi ya VAT. Kwa hiyo tunachofanya sasa hivi ni kurekebisha maneno yaliyopo kwenye document zetu kueleza kwamba hiyo 1.6% hai include VAT.
Thank you, Francis. So just to confirm, these changes will not affect the way the funds have been operating. It is just for clarity. Kwa wenye maswali, mifuko inaendelea kufanya kazi vile vile, ni kwamba maneno yanaongezwa au yanabadilishwa ili kuleta ufafanuzi zaidi. Nadhani hamna maswali mengine. I believe we don't have any other questions. That being said, we will close the voting for iIncome Fund. We'll give it a few minutes as we are tallying up the results.
We would now like to welcome the legal advisor to officially announce the voting results for the Income Fund.
We have the results for proposed amendment in the Income Fund trust deed. Those who have voted for or in favor are 97.0%. Against is 0, and abstain is 3%. With those results, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to announce that the proposed changes have been passed. We will now move to another fund. We have proposed changes in iGrowth Fund, which will include changes proposed to invest in the exchange traded fund. Mr. Francis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Gakwezi. So moving on to our fourth fund, iGrowth Fund. iGrowth also has some similar changes to the other funds, but also has additional changes. So for iGrowth, we also wanted to propose to include a new investment option in our fund, which is exchange traded funds. So as you can see in the changes in our documents, are merely to include this new investment option. For example, in the first change, which the original statement said the fund shall invest in long-term fixed income securities and listed equities, we have added and also exchange traded funds. We believe this new investment option will be very beneficial to our iGrowth Fund and will help to improve the performance of our fund. So also in the next change, which has the allocations and limits, as you can see, for fixed income securities, it's 100%, and equities is 65%. So for the exchange traded funds, there will be a limit of 30%. Also in the next change, we have also added exchange traded funds to our clause regarding the investment of the trust property. So in addition to that is the normal changes to for the expenses in our funds to improve the clarity in our documents. So for each category of expense, we have added the words exclusive of VAT. So labda nirudie kwa Kiswahili. Kwenye mfuko wetu wa iGrowth kuna marekebisho makubwa mawili tuseme. La kwanza ni kama mifuko ile mingine kurekebisha maneno ya kuhusu VAT, kueleza maneno ya kuleta ufafanuzi kwenye swala la VAT. Ila pia kwenye mfuko wa iGrowth tunataka kuongeza mifuko ya exchange traded fund ambayo iko DSE ili kusaidia kuleta ubora zaidi kwenye performance ya mfuko wetu wa iGrowth. Kwa hiyo kwenye marekebisho hapo kwenye documents zetu tunarekebisha kuingiza mfumo mpya wa uwekezaji wa exchange traded fund ili kusaidia kuleta ubora zaidi kwenye performance ya iGrowth. Yes.
Thank you very much, Francis. We'll now like to open up for Q&A. starting with the first question. What is the difference between investing in equities straight away and investing in ETFs, which are a basket of equities? How does that benefit investors?
So investing in equities straight away is different from investing in ETFs because ETFs are a basket of multiple equities. So ETFs give you a broader variety, a bigger exposure to equities because you are basically investing in many equities at once. So it helps you to reduce risk, but also it gives you more opportunity for growth and to improve performance. So that is the major difference.
Thank you. I would like to remind the iGrowth Fund unit holders that we have already opened up the voting process. So you will receive an email on the email address that you registered for the iGrowth Fund. You will receive it and you will get the opportunity to vote for these changes. If you perhaps have any questions with regards to the changes, please feel free to send a message on the chat and we'll address the question in either English or Kiswahili. Tunapenda kuwakaribisha wawekezaji wa mfuko wa iGrowth. Kama mna maswali yoyote, karibuni ili tuweze kuyajibu na muweze kupiga kura mkiwa na amani kabisa. Karibuni.
Yeah.
I would like to remind the iGrowth Fund investors to please check your emails for the voting prompt that has come to them. In case you haven't received it, please let us know and we'll reshare the link. Going back to iGrowth investing in ETFs. Just to further elaborate, we have another question. How is investment in ETFs good for iGrowth? How might it benefit iGrowth as a fund, seeing as ETFs are also funds, just unit versus ETFs, or rather mutual funds versus ETFs? How would that benefit iGrowth?
Okay, so as I explained, ETFs are baskets of securities, but they may not be necessarily the same securities that are in iGrowth. So giving that avenue to invest in ETFs gives it more room, a wider coverage of exposure to many other securities that are available in different markets. So allowing iGrowth to invest in ETFs is beneficial because it adds that let's say, coverage of investments. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. We have a concern from one of the investors. If iGrowth is allowed to invest into ETFs, how will that affect, one, its percentage of equities, and two, won't the iGrowth money be funneled into the iTrust ETF, which artificially inflates the ETF, and iTrust will be pocketing the management fees on both ends?
I think, thank you for the investor for asking that very relevant question. And I can understand that that could be a concern. I think what the fund accountant mentioned, Francis, is the fact that the investments are very different. ETFs are a class of investments that can keep increasing, meaning that there could be more and more ETFs that are coming to market that are listed. I'm talking about things like commodity ETFs, like gold ETF, or things to do with ETFs in different geographies, ETF in different sectors, ETF in different areas. Now, iGrowth itself is a domestic Tanzanian unit trust fund. So it has certain availability. What it is available is securities listed on the DSC. The securities listed on the DSC already include ETF. I want to be clear, ETF is not something not listed on the DSC or that iGrowth cannot invest in. Now, the fact that EAC ETF is an iTrust product does not mean that all ETFs are going to be an iTrust product. Many ETFs are coming to market. iTrust was not the first ETF, it's not the only ETF. There are other ETFs listed, for example, Vertex. There are other ETFs that are being approved by CMSA. We are future-proofing iGrowth to give it the opportunity for it to be ready to invest in any other ETF. But in reality, at the end of the day, any security listed on the DSC is available to iGrowth. So that includes already ETF. We are doing this for clarity's sake, to ensure that investors get disclosure. As everybody knows, we are highly committed to transparency and disclosures to our investors. We like any time that something changes, that the words were not there clearly, we clarify them. And this is one of those aspects where we actually want to clarify. Now, coming back to the investor's point, if you have an ETF that gives access to iGrowth to invest in other things, and I'll use the example the investor gave, which was the EAC ETF. The EAC ETF has stocks like Safaricom. iGrowth will not get access to Safaricom because it's not listed on the Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange. It can only do so through a structure like an ETF. Therefore, the ETF is actually beneficial to the investors. It gives them wider coverage, wider opportunity set, diversification of their risks, and opportunities that they could not have had if an ETF did not exist. That also means that any other ETF that comes and lists and approved by CMSA and DSC to list on the DSC is available to iGrowth investors, and iGrowth investors may invest regardless of whether it is iTrust ETF or non-iTrust ETF. So I want to be very clear, this is not about iTrust or no iTrust, it is about opportunity set that we do for investors. We're extremely committed to keeping the investors' interest in the forefront, to disclose to you the kind of investments we do, why we do them, and please join us in our investor call next month, where you are going to get better explanation, much more detailed discussion of the ETF and iGrowth, both of them together.
Thank you, Prof. Before I let you go, I think that was a very important question. Unaweza ukatusaidia pia kuelezea kwa Kiswahili ili wote tuweze kuelewa na kupata ufafanuzi zaidi.
Asante sana, na nakubaliana kabisa kwamba hilo swali ni swali zuri sana na linaondoa wasiwasi wote au dukuduku lolote ambao wawekezaji wanayo kuhusu iGrowth inavyofanya kazi. iGrowth ni mfuko ambao unawekeza kwenye hisa au hatifungani au chochote ambacho kiko katika soko la hisa la Dar es Salaam. Kwa hiyo haiwezi kuinvest nje ya Tanzania, haiwezi kuinvest kwenye stocks kama Safaricom au za Kenya au za Uganda. Lakini kwa kupitia exchange traded fund inaweza kapata fursa hiyo ya kuweza kuwekeza katika fursa tofauti za exchange traded fund ETFs ambazo zitakuja kwenye soko. Sio lazima za iTrust. Sasa hivi tunaiona tu hiyo ya iTrust, lakini zipo kwenye soko ya Vertex, ipo kwenye soko, zingine zitakuja. Tunategemea kwamba zitakuja zingine ambazo zitatupa nafasi ya kuwekeza kwenye vitu kama dhahabu, kwenye vitu kama hisa za kama kampuni ambayo yako let's say Afrika Kusini. Kwa hiyo zitakavyokuwa zinakuja, tunaiandaa iGrowth iweze kuwekeza na kupanua uwekezaji wake na kupunguza ile risk zake, ili tuweze kupata fursa ambayo iGrowth isingeweza kupata kwa njia nyingine ambayo ni moja kwa moja, kwa sababu haiwekezi kwenye vitu ambavyo havipo kwenye soko letu la Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange. Kwa hiyo hii ni fursa kwetu sisi kwamba ETFs zipo. Kama mnavyojua, vitu vyote ambavyo vimeorodheshwa kwenye soko la hisa la Dar es Salaam zinaruhusiwa, lakini sisi kwa sababu tunapenda tuwe wazi kwa wawekezaji wetu, tunataka tuwe very explicit, tuwaambie kabisa kwamba tunawekeza na limits zikoje. Hapa unapoona hauoni tu kwamba kuna kuwekeza, unaona vile vile limit kwamba hatutaki tupande au tushuke au tuwe katika nafasi kama ile ambayo inaongeza risks. Kwa hiyo tunataka tuwe transparent na tunawaeleza wote kwamba tutakuwa tunawekeza na tunaweza tukawekeza hata sasa hivi kwa sababu ETFs are listed on the exchange, lakini we want to be explicit ili tuweze kuwa clear katika documents zetu.
Thank you very much, Prof. Nadhani kwenye jibu lako umejibu maswali mengine pia. Going back to, you have mentioned that the iGrowth Fund will be investing purely in the instruments that are present in the Tanzanian market or have been listed in the DSE. With the way the market is growing, why aren't we venturing into the Nairobi Stock Exchange, investing in equities in East Africa directly in those stock exchanges?
Yeah, I think that doing it directly it's something. It will also mean another change, which is not in today's AGM. If that ever happens, we will come back to another AGM or EGM to ask for that from the investors. But for the time being, what we are really noticing is that the ETFs provide that function anyway. So having to pay operational risk, operational issues of setting up custody, bank accounts, transferring money, foreign exchange risk, all of that has been packaged for us already in the ETF. Therefore, the ETF has solved so many problems. Then why do we need to duplicate what is already available to us through the ETF?
Thank you very much, Prof. Okay, so there was the other question. With the addition of the ETFs in iGrowth, how will it affect the percentage holdings of equities in the fund? Will the ETF be counted as separate or as an equity as well?
Actually, I will take that on also. Currently, basically, it is in the equity basket. As you know, in the Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange, ETFs are just equities. They just happen to be a collection of equities, but they are just a basket of equities. So now by breaking it up, we are giving you explicit limits instead of bundling all of them together. Kwa hiyo badala kuweka kila kitu kwenye hisa kama zilivyokuwa zote kwenye Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange, sasa hivi tunaiseparate. Kwa hiyo unaanza kuona kwamba hisa, weight ya hisa zinakuwa set differently na za ETFs zitakuwa zina set differently. Kwa hiyo inasaidia wawekezaji waone clearly kwamba unawekeza katika vitu gani. Kwa hiyo I think Francis, maybe you can add what the weights are. Zilikuwa pale kwenye resolution.
As they're bringing that up, I think this will also feed into that same question. Will there be a divide between equities, or rather pure equities and ETFs in terms of the percentage? And how will this improve returns compared to the current strategy of direct equity investment? Are there restrictions on the type of equities, on the types of ETFs as well?
Yeah, I think the couple of issues here to unbreak. First of all, it allows the ETFs to have their own weight instead of being bundled together with the equities. And second thing is that it allows us to spread out the equity risk. As all of you know, iGrowth having a heavy equity component on the Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange makes it somehow volatile. By spreading out the investments across sectors, geographies, and a wider set of securities, it dampens that volatility. So we get diversification, we call it diversification. Unaongeza wigo wa uwekezaji kwa kuwa na access na hisa nyingi zaidi. Kwa hiyo inasaidia kwamba ile kupanda na kushuka sana inapungua, volatility inapungua, na unaweza kupata much more stable trend for iGrowth. Kwa hiyo that is an advantage that we see. So there will be an explicit, this is what we are bringing today, kwamba tuwe wazi katika hizo weights ambazo napata. Katika returns, kwa kuwa na fursa nyingi zaidi ya uwekezaji kwenye ETFs, sio ETFs tu mnazoziona leo. Hii itaruhusu ukuaji wa future, kwa sababu CMSA kila mara wanaangalia ETFs mpya. Zikiruhusiwa kuingia kwenye soko, iGrowth itaweza kushiriki. Sisi ni wawekezaji kwenye uchumi wetu, lazima tuwe tayari katika kuwekeza katika ETFs mpya zitakazokuwa zinakuja, sio tu za iTrust but zote ambazo zitakuwa zinakuja, na hiyo inasaidia katika ukuaji wa soko letu la Dar es Salaam.
Labda ni kuongezea tu Professor alichosema, kama mnavyoweza kuona kuna weights zote za equities na ETFs. Tunachorekebisha ni kwamba kwenye equities itabaki hivyo hivyo 65%, ila ETFs itakuwa ina 30%. Hizo ni limits kwenye hizo investment tofauti.
Thank you very much, Francis and Prof. I believe we have exhausted the questions. Kuna maswali mengine alikuwa anajirudia, nadhani tumeajibu yote, lakini team inahakikisha kwamba tumeweza kuyajibu maswali yote. Wakati tunamalizia, ningependa kuwakumbusha kwamba voting kwa ajili ya iGrowth Fund imefunguliwa. So just a reminder to our investors, voting for the iGrowth Fund is open, and after the extensive Q&A, it shall be closing soon to tally up the votes. We are just checking to make sure that all of the questions have been addressed. So we'll give it about a minute or two before we call our legal advisor to the stage to read to us the results. As there are no more questions in the Q&A, we would like to now close the voting. Thank you very much. This, I think the number of questions for the iGrowth Fund is a testament for the investors who love the iGrowth Fund and who have invested strongly and who talk very highly of the iGrowth Fund. I think later on we'll get to see how it has been, or rather we were able to see how it has been performing, and iGrowth has been an extraordinary fund so far. That being said, I would now like to welcome the legal advisor to read the results, the voting results for the iGrowth Fund.
Thank you, Winfrida. iGrowth Fund, we have the results for the proposed changes in the trust deed. Those who have voted for are 97.7%. Those who have voted against are 1.2%. And those who have abstained are 1.1%. With those results, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to announce that the proposed changes have been passed.
Kakwezi, I would like to remind you that there are 2 resolutions for iGrowth. This is the second one.
What is the first?
This was the first. You have already read the results for the first. We would now like you to read the results for the second resolution. We'll go back to the first so that you can see it. Those are the results that you read. And then now the second resolution.
I will now read results for the second resolution. And those who have voted for are 98.9%. Those voted against are 0.2%. And those who have abstained are 0.8%. With those results, I would like also to confirm that and announce that the changes have been passed. We will now go to Iman Fund. I would like to invite Francis to make a presentation regarding the proposed changes in Iman Fund, which will include extension of jurisdiction of investments in Iman Fund. Please.
Welcome, Azan.
Azan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kakwezi. Thank you, Winnie. So as we've broken it to you, one of the proposed changes is introducing a regional aspect to our Iman Fund. You can see here that there's an amendment in clause 2 with regards to the background. Basically, when we'll be investing in regional markets, so you're looking at allowable investments in East African community, the likes of Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda as well. When you invest in those regional markets, you require sub-custodians. So the first clause is essentially to add the availability of regional investment through sub-custodians, basically. With regards to definitions, some new definitions have to be added, such as East African Community, which is EAC, and sub-custody agreement, which is an agreement that is between the fund manager, the trustee custodian of Tanzania, which is NBC Bank, and a sub-custodian in the regional market, such as Kenya. So with these proposed changes, you will also have to add on the component of the regional ability in the constitutive documents. So you can see that before it was in Sharia compliant instruments. Now we're clarifying and allowing a further investment in EAC and SADC, subject to regulatory requirements, of course, if CMSA approve it. Yeah. Also, just to highlight a little bit, in clause 7, initially it says up to 60% in sukuks. We would also like to broaden that and allow up to 90% in fixed income securities that are Sharia compliant, which is sukuk investment. And with that, again, just including the sub-custodians and regional agreements. And last but not least, the proposed changes which Francis has been highlighting with the other 4 funds that we would like to further clarify that in our fees, we have been charging management fees as 1.6 exclusive. And this is just further clarifying in the constitutive documents that it is exclusive of VAT. Now, I know Iman happens to be a very sensitive fund because it has a Sharia compliant aspect to it, right? And all of us want to know that what constitutes Sharia compliance, right? So this is what we do as a Sharia screening. By we, I mean we have our advisors here. and they're all approved by our Sharia board as well. So Iman also has a Sharia board that approves these sort of information, right? So for the screening of the Sharia stocks, right, what we look at is there's two basic components. There's a business sector screening and there's an accounting screening. Now, for business sector screening, we're looking at what is the core business, right? If the core business is something like alcohol or something that's prohibited by Sharia law, that automatically nullifies that stock, or something that's interest bearing, for example. So, for example, a Sharia compliant stock that is like a non-Sharia compliant stock would be something like banking, because a bank has a primarily source of income of interest, which does not adhere to Sharia principle. So something like CRDB or NMB already do not meet the first criteria of business sector screening. Beyond that, we also look at how much of the business screening of the business is from non-Sharia compliant aspects, right? So that's why we come into accounting screenings. Just to break it down further, basically, as much as you meet the Sharia compliant business sector allocation, you may have a certain portion from that business that may not be Sharia compliant, right? So provided that prohibited income is less than 5% of the total revenue, that would still ensure that it meets the business activity requirements, right? As we move forward, now we move to liquidity, liquid asset ratio and interest-bearing debt ratio. That's where we come into the second principle, right? Where we were talking about looking at the accounting perspective. So for liquid asset ratio, we need to ensure that cash and cash receivables over total assets or total market cap is less than 33%. If any of these cash and receivables are more than the 33%, that means it does not qualify as a Sharia compliant stock. So bear in mind, it can be compliant with business activity, but if it does not meet the liquid asset ratio, which means it would still be non-compliant. A perfect example of that would have been something like TCCL, Tanga Cement, right? Similar, beyond that, we also look at interest-bearing debt ratio, which looks at debt to market cap or debt to total asset ratio, which also needs to be less than 33%. So the Iman Fund has been running now for 1.5 years almost. And one of the stocks that Iman Fund has been holding is Twiga Portland Cement, right? TPCC. TPCC was Sharia compliant throughout the period, but it did have a certain portion in its holdings that was from non-Sharia interest, basically, right? So if you can see here that the ratio used for, so when Twiga Cement earned that sort of non-permissible income, what we do as Iman Fund is we purify that portion of the impure income. So how is it calculated? Basically, how it's calculated is we take the impermissible revenue and we divide it by the total revenue. So if you look at 2025 statements for Twiga Cement, you'll notice that TPCC had 1.7 billion that was generated through interest, right? And if you divide that by the total revenue of 447 billion, that's roughly 0.38% of the entire revenue that was earned by Twiga Cement, right? So what we did was basically we took the dividend that Twiga Cement paid last year for 2025 and we purified 0.38% of that, which was given to a charity, right? And that's how the income was purified for Iman Fund. Now, coming to the cusp of the other amendment, right? The amendment was introducing the regional component to Iman Fund. Allowing Iman Fund, so currently it's allowed to invest in Sharia compliant listed equities, that is DSE, Sukuk, instruments, which are also Tanzanian local sukuks, and Sharia compliant ETFs, which currently are not available in the Tanzanian market. Right? As we move to the proposed changes, basically we will be introducing Sharia compliant listed equities in Tanzania, in the East African Community region, as well as the Southern African development countries, right? So SADC. Together with that, we're also looking at possible sukuks that are listed in these regional markets and ETFs. So South Africa happens to have quite a few Sharia compliant ETFs. So those could be potential investable assets for the Iman Fund. Yeah, just to give you a brief, so basically in Tanzania we have Twiga Cement, which is what we invested in last year. We have the likes of Vodacom, Tanga Cement, which through the rights issue conducted by iTrust last year, it has been able to rectify itself and become a Sharia compliant potential investment as well, together with Swissport. We can look at Kenya as well, which allows us now with the regional availability through Safaricom, BOC, NMG, and Carbasid as well. If you look at Uganda, MTN Uganda would also meet these criteria that I mentioned earlier when we're doing the stock screening. Yeah, if you guys have any other questions, I'd be more than happy to assist.
Just to give a brief in Kiswahili, because there were multiple changes in the Iman Fund, would like to welcome Francis. As Francis is coming to the stage, I would like to remind you that the Iman Fund voting has been opened. So if you have questions, please feel free to write them in the chat and we'll address them. Welcome, Francis.
Asante Winnie. Nitaelezea kwa ufupi kwa Kiswahili marekebisho kwenye mfuko wa Iman. Kwenye Iman kuna marekebisho machache, ila cha msingi ni kwamba tunataka kupanua uwekezaji wa Iman kuingia kwenye tunasema maeneo tofauti nje ya nchi yetu ya Tanzania. Kwa hiyo mpango ni kupanua kuingia kwenye nchi ambazo ziko kwenye Afrika Mashariki na Kusini. Hivyo inabidi turekebishe maeneo mbalimbali ya document zetu. Kama mnavyoona kwenye swala la custodian, kwenye kuwekeza nje ya nchi inabidi uwe na sub custodian ambaye ni kama msaidizi wa custodian na anailinda mali ambazo ziko nje ya nchi. Kwa hiyo mpango ni kuongeza sub custodian na pia inabidi tufafanue zaidi kwenye definitions, maelezo ya document zetu, kuongeza kwamba kuna umoja wa Afrika Mashariki na umoja wa nchi za Afrika Kusini. Pia kwenye swala la tunasema limits au vidhibiti vya uwekezaji, kwenye swala la hizi tunaita sukuk ambazo ni Sharia compliant instruments, tumepanua uwekezaji wake kutoka Tanzania tu kuingia kwenye nchi za Afrika Kusini na Mashariki, na pia tumebadilisha kidogo asilimia ya hizi sukuk kwenye mfuko ili kupanua zaidi uwekezaji wa mfuko wetu. Kama mnavyoona hapo, asilimia ilikuwa 60 na tumerekebisha kuwa asilimia 90 kwenye hizi sukuk. Na marekebisho mengine yanahusiana na yale nilielezea kabla kuhusu kodi ya VAT, ni kuongeza tu maneno ya VAT kwenye document zetu ambayo hayakuwepo kabla. Kama Azana alivyoelezea, kwenye kufanya screening au kuangalia kampuni gani ambazo ziko Sharia compliant na ambazo haziko, tunaangalia sekta ya biashara ya hizi kampuni. Kwa mfano, kampuni ambazo zinafanya biashara ambazo tunasema sio halal, kama zinazofanya biashara za interest kama benki, hizi huwa hatuzihesabii kwenye investment za mfuko wa Iman. Na pia tunaangalia uwiano mbalimbali ya securities ambazo huwa zinatoa interest kulingana na jumla ya assets zote za kampuni. Ndio haya, kuna mahesabu mbalimbali ambayo huwa tunayafanya kujua kama kampuni inakidhi vigezo vya ambavyo vinakidhi vigezo vya sisi kuweza kuwekeza kwenye hizi kampuni. Ndio haya mahesabu ambayo huwa tunaangalia, na pia tunafanya kwa gawio huwa tunazopata kwenye mfuko, tunafanya kitu kinaitwa purification au tuseme utakaso. Tunaangalia asilimia ya mapato ya hizi kampuni ambazo sio halal kulingana na mapato mazima ya kampuni. Kwa mfano, kwa hii kampuni ya TPCC ukiangalia mapato jumla ni bilioni 447, wakati mapato ambayo tunasema sio halal ni bilioni 1.7. Kwa hiyo asilimia 0.38 ni asilimia ya mapato ambayo sio halal. Kwa hiyo tunafanya haya mahesabu kwenye gawio ambalo mfuko umepata ili kujua ni kiasi gani ambacho tunasema sio halal, na hivyo tukua tunafanya hiyo purification ambayo tunachukua hii amount na kuifanyia charity. Ndio hii, kama mnavyoona kuna kampuni mbalimbali ambazo tunaona ni sharia compliant, zinakidhi vigezo. Kwenye Tanzania kuna Twiga, Vodacom, Simba Cement au Tanga Cement, Swissport, na Kenya kuna kampuni mbalimbali Safaricom, BOC, Uganda pia kuna kampuni ya MTN. Kwa hiyo haya marekebisho yatatupa nafasi ya kuweza kuwekeza kwenye hizi kampuni ambazo ziko nje ya mipaka yetu. Ningependa kuwakaribisha kwa maswali.
Asante Francis. Again, napenda kuwakumbusha wawekezaji wa mfuko wa Iman kwamba tumefungua voting, kwa hiyo mnaweza mkapiga kura, na kama mna maswali yoyote mnaweza mkatuuliza. We have a question. I think going back to the previous slide with National Media Group, we have an Iman Fund unit holder who asks, how can you justify the Nation Media Group if it advertises non-halal, example, alcohol?
Thank you very much. Kwanza, I would like to say that the fact that these names are put here does not mean that this will be the investments. I want to be very clear, these are just to give you an idea of potential universe or lack thereof of investment opportunities in Sharia compliant securities. It's very difficult. Many of the securities in the region are not Sharia compliant according to the screening that was outlined here. So please note that as fund managers, Iman will not be investing in all of them. We'll selectively be looking for opportunities in those that make sense. For example, the Nation Media Group is actually being acquired. So there is even no point for us to even consider it. We're just telling you what passes, what kind of sample companies pass the Sharia screening, but that does not mean that these are the actual investments. Basically, any investment that Iman is going to make will have to pass the screening that was outlined, will also undergo purification. When there is income that leads to us to suspect that it is not Sharia compliant, it enters the purification ratio and it will be purified by contributing that income to charity. But please note that the investments being outlined here are only for indicative purposes. They are not actually the final investments or the weights. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. We are still open for the Q&A. So in case of any questions, we welcome the Iman Fund holders, Iman Unit Fund holders to please type them in the chat and we will address them accordingly. You should have received a link in your email that will allow you to vote. In case you did not or rather we're not able to vote beforehand. So please, if in case of any question, please ask it and we will address it. We will give about 5 to 10 minutes to allow for voting to take place and for people to be able to ask questions.
I think, Winnie, while we are waiting, maybe it will be very helpful for our unit holders in Iman Fund to know the governance structure of Iman Fund. I think it was mentioned that Iman Fund does have a Sharia board. The Sharia board reviews all the policies. That includes the policy on screening, the policy on purification. It's a 3-member Sharia board, which is in the offer documents. So anybody who is interested can see who the Sharia board members are. At the same time, the management engages with external consultants to check on what are the available opportunities, what kind of investments we can make. The challenge that Iman has had, and I think to explain this a little bit to the Iman unit holders, is that we have very limited numbers. As you know, sukuks are a recent addition to the Tanzanian investment landscape, and therefore their numbers are limited. We still do not have a completely sovereign sukuk. We have a semi-sovereign sukuk with the Zanzibar sukuk. We have very limited corporate availability like Al Baraka sukuk. We had a KCB sukuk. We still have a second KCB sukuk outstanding. We had an Amana Bank sukuk. So Tanzania has been in the forefront of offering this kind of securities. And I'm proud to say at iTrust and Iman, under the Iman brand, we were the pioneer of sukuk. We did the first couple of sukuks before even anybody offered a sukuk. So we pioneered that, and we are proud to say that that has led to somebody like Al Baraka Banking, CRDB's Islamic bank window, Al Baraka to have offered 205 billion in sukuks last year, multi-currency. That's a great achievement. Now, having said that, we still have a lack of securities to invest in. We were heavy in Twiga cement for a very long time. The results you see is because we were so heavy in Twiga. Currently, Twiga is not a big weight. We actually sold down the Twiga holding because the share price appreciated so much that we had to sell it down to reduce and to reduce the weight. And that we locked in those gains for our investors in Iman. So the gains that you're seeing, the Iman investors 45%? 45% return over a year and a half is the sukuks, yes, but mainly it is the capital gains that we have been able to gain from Twiga investment. When you have only one stock investment, this is not a portfolio. It's too risky for investors. It is not a good portfolio for a Sharia compliant fund. This is the reason why we are bringing this proposal to expand the geographical areas and offer our investors a better opportunity to find greater securities for them that can improve their returns, reduce their risks, and overall make Iman Fund a better performing fund for the long term. We are, as you said, committed to sustainability of our funds, and this is one of the measures we are undertaking for the interest of our unit holders. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. That marks the end of the presentation for the Iman Fund and the voting. That being said, I would like to invite the legal advisor to read out the results for the 3 resolutions for Iman Fund. As I had mentioned, there are 3 resolutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Nifrida. I would like now to announce the first resolution regarding proposed amendments in Iman Fund Trust Deed. Those who have voted for are 99.6%. Vote against is 0%, and abstain is 0.4%. With those results, I would like with those results for the first resolution, I would like to announce that the first resolution has been passed. Second one. For the second one, I would like to read the results as follows. Those who have voted for are 100%. Vote against is 0, and abstain is 0. So for the second resolution, I would like to announce that the proposed changes have been passed. Resolution 3 for amendment of Iman Trust Fund, Iman Fund Trust Deed. The results are as follows. Those who have voted for are 97.1%. Vote against is 0%, and abstain is 2.9%. With those results, I would like to announce that the proposed changes for Resolution 3 to amend Iman Trust Deed have been passed. With the conclusion of amendment of the trust deeds, now I propose we go to our agenda item number 10, which is any other business. If there is any other business, please.
We would like to welcome people online. If there is any other business, we will leave about 2 minutes for that. If there's any other business, please share it. There is none so far from the online community.
Since there is no any other business, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome Chairman to give his closing remarks. Mr. Chairman, please. Karibu.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the close of this inaugural iFunds annual general meeting, I'd like to extend my sincere appreciation to all unit holders, trustees, custodians, auditors, regulators, and stakeholders who have participated in today's proceeding, both in person and virtually. Your active engagement, thoughtful contribution, and continued confidence in iTrust through the iFunds are deeply valued. Today's discussions have reaffirmed the importance of integrity, innovation, and customer centricity in achieving our shared objective of growing and protecting investor wealth. On behalf of the board, I wish to assure you that we remain committed to upholding the highest standards of governance, prudent fund management, and investor stewardship. We will continue to work diligently to identify opportunities, manage risk responsibly, and deliver sustainable value to all our unit holders. I'd like to thank the iTrust staff for their dedication and professionalism in supporting the growth and success of our funds. Your sense of teamwork is inspiring and at the core of our success so far. As we look ahead, we do so with confidence, guided by a clear vision, strong partnership, and the trust you have placed in us. With those remarks, I hereby declare the 2025 Annual General Meeting of the iCash Unit Trust Scheme, iSave Unit Trust Scheme, iIncome Unit Trust Scheme, iGrowth Unit Trust Scheme, and Iman Unit Trust Scheme officially closed. Thank you for your participation. I wish you all a pleasant afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Chairman. As he has mentioned, that marks the end of our AGM. We would like to remind our viewers, as Prof mentioned, we will have a quarterly iFunds investor call coming up next month. So please, if you have further questions, please feel free to tune in. More information will be provided on our social media, and we'll also send out email prompts. That being said, we would like to thank you all very much and have a great morning. Thank you.